So let's dive into your career with April Wine. There's a lot of fan questions sprinkled out in this portion of the interview. And I'm going to start with two questions that are basically the same question twice. So Barry Hussey asks, when did you first become a fan of April Wine? And then Jeff Weingars asks, what is Mark's first memory of April Wine? Was it a song on the radio? Saw them in concert? That kind of thing.
Never saw April Wine in concert as a kid. April Wine were always on the radio. I never bought an April Wine record because I didn't have to. Every time I went somewhere or was someplace at the arcade or wherever, or April Wine was always on the radio. So for me, Wouldn't Want to Lose Your Love, which is a song we're not doing yet, and I can't wait to play that, was a big April Wine tune for me. Bad Side of the Moon, On Fire for You, Baby, which is my favorite song to sing. Roller, of course, were all songs that stuck out. We're talking about a legendary Canadian band here, right? So um, those were the songs that really stuck out. And I don't have a memory of seeing them live because I never did, never got a chance to.
My favorite April Wine song has always been Sign of the Gypsy Queen. And to me, when I think of April Wine, I think great songs, super tasty guitar riffs, and a
Mm,
master class in harmonies. And Sign of the Gypsy Queen has all of those.
absolutely. And it's not an April Wine song. It's actually a song that they took. I forget the original writer, which was they did a masterful job of redoing it. They gave it its
They made it
identity.
their own for sure.
They made yeah, and could have been a lady too. Is a hot chocolate tune, and Bad Side of the Moon is an Elton John tune. And they had that ability, April Wine, which were great because they had the ability to take these songs that were maybe B-sides or not known or weren't really hits for the other acts and turn them into their own songs and turn them into hits. You know, they were very talented that way in giving it their spin.
We have a fan question from Patrice Gauthier. We got all the French Canadians coming out here. Patrice's question is, tell us how Miles got to know you and picked you for his replacement.
So Richard Lancier, who was actually, I'll go one step before Richard. Paul-André Lamarche, who is a drummer friend of mine, grew up with Paul-André. We used to jam together in Elmer all the time. He, about 15 years ago, was talking with Brian Greenway at a jam session, probably at Smoke Meat Pete's or something like that in Montreal. And Brian said they were looking for a bass player. And Paul André recommended Richard Lancier. And Richard Lancier used to play the Quebec and Ontario blues circuit with Cal Tremblay, who's a legendary blues, harmonica player, singer in Quebec. And I knew Richard because I played that same circuit, and I still do with my band Wang Dang Doodle. So Richard, when Miles started to, want to get a replacement, Richard heard my voice. He said, "I think Mark would do a good job." So they called me up, and I actually auditioned for Miles on the phone. This is 10 years ago. I remember doing roller and screaming and "Rah!" and in the on the phone. And he liked what he heard on the phone. And then I was working at the Yellow Pages at that point because I needed a day job. I was starving as a musician. And Miles said, "I need you from Wednesday to Sunday, and it pays this much. And are you available? Can you do it?" So I went to the president of the Yellow Pages and I said, "I just got an offer to be the singer on April Wine." And she was like, "Are you crazy? That's amazing." Because everybody knows April Wine, right? And I go, "But they need me from Wednesday to Sunday." And this was a full-time job I had. I was a sales rep, you know. And she said, "You can't do both. You'll end up not doing a good job in April Wine and not doing a good job at the Yellow Pages." So I had to think about that. And Lydia was 18 months old. And
Wow.
that was the main deal. I couldn't. I couldn't leave, my baby. So
If you didn't have a kid, you would have done it in a heartbeat, probably. Or maybe not.
I would have tried to do both because the money was really good at Yellow Pages. The money was good at April Wine too for being a musician. But I was making more money at the Yellow Pages. I would have made more money at the Yellow Pages, but probably, I was not into marketing. I always have, guitar picks in my pocket. And I remember doing all these marketing meetings at Yellow Pages and I would be rubbing my two guitar picks together saying, what am I doing here? I don't like this stuff. I want to go play guitar. But it was paying the rent, right? It was a good day job. So fast forward 8 years later, Miles was still hanging in there. They hadn't found their guy. They auditioned some guys. The auditions did not go well. Miles did not like what he heard. I, in the meantime, had posted all these videos during COVID on Facebook, and Richard, again, bless his heart, he said, "Well, remember you listened to Marc 8 years ago? He auditioned for you on the phone," and Miles didn't remember me. So they went in to my Facebook page and started listening to the videos I'd done. And Miles was like, there's potential there. So Miles calls me up. He goes, what do you think about, filling in and doing the gig and all that? And I'm like, now I've got two daughters, but they're older. This is post COVID. I've left the Yellow Pages. I'm a full-time musician again. So like, of course I said yes. I couldn't believe I was getting a second chance.
That doesn't
And
happen very frequently, right? Normally an
no,
opportunity comes and goes and
no. Yeah, that's it, especially in this business. So I took out my iPhone, an acoustic guitar, and I just played him. I recorded maybe 3 April Wine songs. And then I sent it to Miles and I said, listen, this is as naked as it gets. It's like my iPhone and an acoustic guitar and my voice singing in the phone. If you like the voice and you feel that I could do your songs justice, let's talk, right? I sent him the email, and he's listening to the email in Nova Scotia, and one of his best friends calls him on the phone, and he's talking to his friend on the phone, and the tape, my recording is playing in the background, and he asks his best friend, he says, "What do you think of this?" And his friend says, "Well, that's just you playing guitar and singing," and it was me. So whoever that guy is, I don't know who he is, but he got me the gig.
that's
Because Miles
insane.
was like, yeah, Miles was maybe on the fence still or wasn't sure or whatever. But if his best friend thought that the guy singing, through his computer right now was him, then that's how I got the gig.
You got a little third party validation there somehow.
Yeah, I still don't know who he is. I don't know who that guy was, you know.
That's wild. We have
But
a
yeah, so that's how I got the gig like 8 years later.
we have a fan question from Steve Kerr. And the question is, in all your days as a musician, did you ever think you would become a member of April Wine? Then he says, cheers to Mr. Miles. He picked a brilliant person with Mr. Marc Perrin. Cheers, pal. That's from Steve.
Oh, thanks, Steve. No, I never thought. You know, I thought it was really cool 8 years ago when I got the call the first time. I couldn't believe I had to say no, so I figured that was it. And I just kept playing because you love playing. Feel good when you sing. I feel like it sounds silly, but I feel like I fly when I sing. It's liberating. It feels so good and natural to do. So yeah, never thought, to answer the question, never in my wildest dreams. You know, I had this Steely Dan tribute band. We were 14 on stage, which I really enjoyed doing. And I used to fantasize that Donald Fagen would give me a call, and then I would. I'd had these scenarios where he couldn't sing anymore, but he wanted to play, so I would do the. That was my fantasy of being called to do Steely Dan. But yeah, April Wine, man, fuck, it's amazing. I'm so blessed.
It's hard to make money as a 14-piece band when you have to take your guarantee and divide it by 14. But I'm sure it
Oh
sounds
no.
incredible, right? 14 musicians would be the dream.
Oh, we didn't play that much because there was just too many people in the band. But we had the brass and the backup singers and two keyboard players, and fantastic. So cool to do. That's a heady catalog to play, heavy songs, and it was so fun. Good challenge to pull that off. And we had all the musicians in Montreal coming to listen to us play with their arms crossed in the front row. It was cool.
You need an old school bus just to get all the members to the gig.
Yeah, no kidding.
Do you remember the exact moment where you received the news that you had been accepted into April Wine, that you got the gig itself? And what range of emotions did you go through in that moment?
It's funny. It was the same situation for 8 seconds. I remember meeting Frank and Jerry in their apartment, and I had brought this joint, you know, and we're talking, and I'm talking with Frank, and I go, well, I brought this joint to celebrate me joining the band. I was waiting, nothing was being said, and he just said, okay, light the joint, you're in the band. And then, you know, years later with Miles, it was like we're talking on the phone, and he goes, okay, well, it pays this much, it does this, it does that, and can you do that? Are you available? And I just kept saying yes, 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 and I'm waiting. He's not saying it, and Miles would just say, "You're waiting for me to say it, aren't you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm waiting for you to say it." And he goes, "Congratulations, you got the gig." And I was like, "Oh my god," I couldn't believe it. Um, I remember it was summer, it was August, and I was just like really thrilled. And then I thought, holy cow, do I have a lot of work to do? Because I've got to sing these songs like I've been singing them my whole life. I got to sing Roller like I wrote Roller, and I didn't. And so I had to just play them and play. Nobody on earth listened to more April Wine 3 years ago than I did. Just learning these songs, playing them, standing up, sitting down, playing them with lyrics, without lyrics, just playing the music, just singing, learning everything by heart. It was it was tough because you have to make them your own. So I'm up there serving the song. If I'm singing Gypsy Queen, I'm not thinking of the way Miles sang it. I'm thinking of serving the song. So I'm singing it just like I'm hearing it on the record. And hopefully it sounds just like you remember it. That's my job. Serve the song. Don't imitate Miles Goodwin. Don't try to sound like him. Just sound like you, and respect the melody, the phrasing, respect the song, and play it with love and respect, because it's Gypsy Queen from April Wine, right? And that's what I've done. That's been my approach. I just want to play the song like a fan hears it. I'm just the guy up there singing it. I'm not imitating Miles. I just happen to sound like him. Our ranges are similar. Our voices are similar. So it's not hard for me to sing those songs. You know, First gig I did in Calgary, I was so nervous. And I asked the lighting guy, I said, light up the crowd. I want to see eyeballs. I want to look at people in the eyes. Because they're all like, who's this guy? Where's Miles? Miles hadn't passed, right? So I just told him, I said, guys, I'm as much of a fan as you guys are. I should be in the audience with you. I'm up here singing these tunes. I know it's going to be weird for you, but just know this. I love these songs as much as you do. And let's just have fun. And it went over. First song, they're looking at me like this. Second song, their arms are opening up a bit more. Third song, the arms are down. Fourth song, they're doing this. And fifth song, they're doing this. So it took a while, like a couple of tunes in, but it's the power of the song. If you go see Styx and you listen to Gowan singing Dennis DeYoung parts, you know the song, you know the parts. You just want to hear the song. And Gowan's a great example. He sounds like Dennis DeYoung as well, but he's not. But it's okay. It takes you, if you're one of those, oh, well, he's not an original member of the band, internet naysayers, come see the show and listen to the songs and have a good time. And if you don't like what you hear, then don't come to the show, you know, listen to the records. But everybody who's seen the band so far, they all have a good time, and it's the power of the song. They just listen to these songs and it brings them back. And that's what you want to hear. So if I'm doing that properly, I'm doing my job.
What's awesome about seeing Styx with Gowan singing for them is they also do Gowan songs, so you get to hear a Criminal Mind and some of the other hits. When I was really young, I won a prize pack, which was Styx concert tickets, an album, and a T-shirt. And I went to the concert knowing the name Styx, but not knowing if I knew the songs or not. And man, it was one of the best shows I've ever seen. Almost every song I went, "Oh, that sticks." Like I knew the song, I just didn't know who sang it. And I was blown away. So Styx and Gowan together is like two superpowers uniting.
Yeah, you know, it's all about the music. I had a lady in Kingston. We were doing the Steve Miller show. We opened up for Steve Miller, and she sees me. I'm talking with my sister. I remember she sees me and she starts shaking and crying. And she's walking towards me. She goes, "I've been listening to you all my life, and you're the greatest singer." And you know, and she thinks I'm Miles. She doesn't know that I'm not Miles, you know. And I'm just gave her a big hug and thanked her for coming to the show, and you know, thanked her for her compliments. And it's it's the songs that matter. She didn't know that I wasn't the guy, and it didn't matter whether I was the guy or not the guy. She had spent a great evening listening to the songs of her youth. You know, that's all that matters.
Were you nervous joining a band that had already achieved so much success, or were you more excited knowing you're the right guy for that job?
Both.
Both.
I've been nervous. I'm just now, honestly, after 3 years, just now not as nervous before a show. Um, because I feel like now the songs are my own. They're not my songs, but I can make them my own. I've brought my enthusiasm and my tone to the songs, and the songs are so strong that they play themselves, really, right? Everybody knows them. So it's an easy sell. It's not as if I'm singing a bunch of songs nobody's heard before. Um, but yeah, that first year, it was like it was pretty nerve wracking, you know. But like the first time we played Montreal, oh boy, I had my friends from Ottawa, I had family, I had my friends from Montreal. I mean, nobody wants you to do bad. Nobody wants to see you fail. They all want to see you succeed. But yet you know that all your friends are there and you're like friggin' nervous, you know. And I remember walking on stage and seeing this wacky little couple in the front row. They were just like, they're just, you know, oddballs kind of deal. And they brought me back to like, oh, this is Le Bistrot à Jojo on Saint Denis Street on a Friday night. This is the same thing, right? They grounded me right away. So it felt really good to see that little couple having a good time, because it's the same little couple I've seen a million times in a million bars, right? And it brought the whole thing back into perspective. Yes, it's April Wine. Yes, they're like a multi-million dollar selling band and all that stuff. But when you get out there and play, you're playing for people. People are people, you know, and it brings it back to what I know I can do and what I know I can do well. Right? I've been doing this all my life. I can sing and play guitar. I've been doing it all my life. So I don't try not to get too caught up in the whole history behind the band before a show, because you know it could freak you out. You know, I'm sure Phil X did the same thing in Bon Jovi. He must have been like, "Oh my God, I'm playing in Bon Jovi," right? But then after a few gigs, he probably said, "Man, this is just like it's like a club, only bigger." Right? He did his thing, and you know, there's a whole, you know, Ardell and Journey probably as well, you know, and it must have been huge for him too. These are huge bands.
I did an interview recently where they brought up Phil X saying he's got the best job in the world, where I think in his 50s, suddenly he's the guitarist for one of the biggest bands in the world. Like he's just out there living the dream starting in his 50s.
Yeah, well, he's a mega talent. He's a great singer, great guitar player, and he's so devoted. He's he's a hard worker. You can tell. He always has a guitar in his hands. Always. What's weird about looking at an Eddie Van Halen picture? Well, what's weird is when you see Eddie without a guitar in his hands. That's weird, right? Because every time you see Eddie, he's got a guitar in his hands. So Phil X kind of gives me that same kind of vibe. You watch him without a guitar, and how come he doesn't have a guitar in his hands?
Did you see during the Stanley Cup playoffs, Triumph performed before one of the Edmonton games, first live performance in 17 years, and Phil X was one of the guitarists on stage with them to
Yeah,
round
and
out the
and
three
Todd,
piece into a five piece, I think.
yeah, and Todd Kearns too, who's amazing, amazing Canadian talent. He's the hardest working guy I know. He's always playing with Slash or playing in the Vegas or playing with Triumph or doing Took, or he's a mega mega talented guy. You know, never sounds bad, and he's always playing.
We have a question from Diane Massé, and she says, "Congrats, Mark. So
Zian
proud."
Massé,
Yeah,
Zian Massé, that name rings a bell.
Diane Massé. She says,
Yeah, I
"Congrats,
know her.
Mark. So proud of you. I'm wondering what's the most challenging part of following in someone's footsteps as the new singer, and what's one thing you wish people understood about it?"
Hmm. The hardest part was making the songs my own. I said this a few minutes ago. Not sounding like I'm going through the motions of this other guy singing an April Wine tune. There's a million guys out there singing April Wine songs. I had to make them sound like the band because I'm playing in the band, and I had to make them my own. So it was like navigating that line of play for the song, respect the song, and then make it your own as well. But don't go into imitation territory, you know. And it doesn't bother me anymore what people say on the internet, like who's the new guy? He's not an original member of the band. I'm sorry, I was 5 years old when April Wine started. I mean, people grow old. We don't want to see our famous rock stars. We don't want to see them grow old. We don't want to see them pass. You know, we want to see them like we remember them, right? Um, I'm just out there serving the song. And I know I say that a lot, but it's true. My focus is always play this song, sing it with your heart, play guitar like you're busting out of jail, you know, and and respect the work. I think about Miles every show. I've got I hear his voice in my head every time I'm singing. I see pictures of him when we're playing live, you know, and I'm hoping that he likes what he's hearing. I'm hoping that he likes what how I'm presenting his work because it's his work. And I'm hoping people have a good time and just go right back to how they on their first kiss or their wedding song or their first date song or the power, right? The power of the song, right? I'm hoping they live that. And I see it. I see it happen. It's a beautiful thing.
The band had released 16 studio albums before you joined. How does one tackle such a massive discography? And it's not just on one instrument. It's not like you just have to learn the vocals for 16 albums or just the guitar. It's both. Like you have to double duty learning a 16 album discography. How do you get started? Did you have a process where you talk with the other members and you go, okay, these are the 16 songs we're most likely to play in a concert. So let's get those down so at least we can start doing shows. And then you start expanding with a few more songs you learn per week or per month. How does that work?
That's pretty much it. I mean, April Wine they were still playing, when I joined. They were a live band that they didn't play as often as we do now, but they had a set list. And these are songs through the years that they knew that the fans loved and that needed to be played. So we started there, you know. They gave me a list of songs, might have been 30 songs to learn. And then we did rehearsals. And I remember, I remember being at my mom's place on the patio outside, and just starting to learn Could Have Been a Lady. And I was just going over the lyrics. There's no secret. It's just singing it and singing it and doing it and doing it. There's no, I wish there was a secret, but the first year I had an iPad and a Bluetooth page turner, okay? And it was in front of my monitor. And I would sing, and every now and then, if I'd get one of those brain farts where I could just look down at the iPad and I'd see like the first few lines of text, and then that would send me, then I would be good. And then after a year, tossed it aside. And because the songs were being absorbed by my muscle memory. And now, I just do them. I know them. So, and at one point, Brian Greenway, who's, still an original member of the band, he joined in 77. Um, he and I would get together and work on the songs and the guitar parts at my place. And one time he showed up with another list and he said, "These are the American hits." And I go, "Huh?" Yeah, these are songs that were big in the States that were never played in Canada. So 16 albums, like what, 15 live albums, like 15
Compilation
great
albums,
hits.
34 singles. Yeah.
It's never ending. Yeah, that's just like I said, for like a year, every day, I just learned the material. My poor neighbors, for a year,
They know the discography as well as you do.
they knew the set list before anybody else.
You made them sign an NDA when you started practicing. We have a question from Weldon McKenzie. What is your favorite lead guitar break in the discography?
I like Crash and Burn. There's a great intro in Crash and Burn and a great ripping solo from Miles with some wah wah. I love doing that. I love Anything You Want because I can stretch a little bit on that one. There's like there breaks where I can improvise a bit more. I love the intro to Just Between You and Me because it's a melodic solo. I like the solos in I Like to Rock because, again, they're so melodic and they fit the tune. I like the breaks between the two guitars in Roller, you know. Um, Gypsy Queen, the theme in Gypsy Queen, the ending. I love Brian's solo in Gypsy Queen. That's like one of the great, guitar solos in rock. I love to hear him play that. Um, it's such a great gig. There's fun guitar to play and fun songs to sing. I'm a lucky guy.
The song Roller is the band's most popular song on Spotify with 24 million plays. Why do you think people love Roller so much?
It's just it's got a great hook off the top that just brings you into the song, you know, and then it's got great verses that are a really cool little shuffle that just makes you want to dance. And then there's a section where it becomes harmonized guitar parts, which is typical classic rock, you know. And it's got a great storyline, right? The girl who's a roller in Vegas, spending her money and nothing can stop her, right? It's got all the elements of a great hook and a great tune, great storyline, great melody, great guitar. There's a video on YouTube. You can see Miles talking about Roller, how he'll dissect it and how he likes it. I forget the title of those videos, but On the Record maybe, or something like that. If you want to check it out, it's pretty cool.
What was the most difficult song for you to learn on guitar, and then the most difficult to lock down vocally?
That's a good question. For some reason, I still have a hard time with I Like to Rock vocally because it's kind of like shouted and talked and sung. There's not a melody line I could hook my teeth into. So it's like, all right, something's got you going tonight, doing all she can. It's all right. Come on, can't you see? That's cool. But every now and then it's hard to explain. It's not like Just Between You and Me where the melody's so strong I can sink my teeth into it and stay into that. I Like to Rock. I can I can get sidetracked a little bit, you know. So that one's a little tougher for me to sing. I don't feel I'm doing as good a job as I can yet on that one. Um, and guitar wise, there's one part, I'll be totally honest with you guys. There's one part I still struggle with in roller, that do 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 do, right when there's trades between the guitars. The last trade is my part, and those arpeggios are still, I practice them, and every now and then I'll just go do 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 do. I'll stumble a bit, you know. So those ones, that one's still a bit of a challenge, but the rest is just fun and not easy music to play by any means. But the more you play them, the more the muscle memory gets involved, and the more I can sing and play at the same time. You know, I've been playing other people's music for 40 years, so you kind of learn by singing other people's stuff and playing guitar. You develop that independence, you know, and you're able to sing one thing and play another thing and make it sound like you've been doing it all your life, you know.
The band has a few songs that are in different time signatures, like the song Telling Me Lies, I believe is in 6/4. Is it challenging to play songs in different time signatures, or is it all the same to you? You just count a little differently.
Say Hello is in a funky time signature, but I don't hear it as a funky time signature. I just listen to it and I just play it, you know. It's not a challenge. But again, I'm not the drummer. I'm not playing drums on this, but I don't think Roy has much of a problem with it either. But he's a pretty talented musician. Um, yeah, I mean, when I listen to music in general, a lot of musicians that I know have this analytical ear. And when they listen to music, they're always analyzing it. They're hearing chords, they're hearing progressions, they're hearing melodies, they're hearing counterpoint. I don't, I don't have that. You know, I listen to music like a fan. I just, I just absorb it. I don't like analyze chord progressions in real time. And is the singer singing a minor third and over a major chord, or, you know, I'm not hearing that. I'll hear it if it sounds funky in my ear, but I'm not. I just always listen to music like anybody else does, like a fan.
So we have some kind words sent in from Trevor Finley, the super talented
Oh wow!
singer-songwriter and
Oh,
guitarist. And Trevor says, it doesn't just take talent and ability to step into a gig like April Wine. It also takes strength and fortitude. Marc was tasked with carrying the torch forward for one of Canada's most iconic, beloved, and renowned bands. And he does so with class and ease. It's easy to see that he respects the music and the fans, and he seems to be having a whole lot of fun doing it. I know it's social media, but you can't fake a smile like that. They're big shoes to fill, and Marc wears them with comfort. Congrats, my friend. Continued success. That's from Trevor Finley.
wow. Well, thank you, Trevor. I love your I love your Facebook posts when you imitate the fans. You're so talented, dude. I love it. You're funny. Oh man. Um, hey man, can you play that Led Zeppelin tune? Yeah. Anyways, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Trevor's it's hilarious. Anyways, yeah, thank you. That's much appreciated. I am a fan. You know, I keep that respect. I think when you've been a musician and you've paid your dues and done a lot of bad gigs and, you know, got hungry a lot, you never take anything for granted. You never feel like you're owed anything. You know, it was, you know, I was in 8 seconds. I was 22 years old. I thought that's what you did. You know, you practiced guitar and you became a rock star. I had no clue, no clue. I actually thought I deserved to be there, you know, and I didn't really, because I hadn't paid my dues, you know. And when they gave me the boot, it was the best thing that could have happened to me, because I had to move to Montreal, go to school, do a bachelor's degree in music, and then start Wang Dang Doodle and get a club gig that paid $50, and you had to play till 3 in the morning. And, you know, when you're walking off stage, you get shit from this guy who just walked in because he's pissed off because you're stopped playing and you've been there since 10. All kinds of stuff, waitresses dropping booze on your gear and stuff like all the dues that I've paid over the years. I had never done that before. So that's where you learn. That's the school of being a musician. I have a bachelor's degree in music. I never really use it, right? The Bistrot à Jojo on St. Denis Street was my school, and it still is. I play there once a month. I love to go play there and just play spontaneous improvised music with other musicians listening to each other. That's the real deal.
Do you think having Miles having handpicked you and giving you his blessing helped to have the existing April Wine fans accept you as the new front man?
I hope so. I hope so. Miles liked what he heard. Miles was confident that I could carry the torch. You know, Miles wanted his songs to carry on. He wanted April Wine to carry on. He wanted people to have a good time when they came to an April Wine concert. You know, April Wine's a rock and roll band. It's a rock and roll party band. We talk about drinking and making out with girls and cars and love songs. And, it's not brain surgery, right? It's a rock and roll good time band. And I think Miles liked my attitude. He liked that I smiled a lot. He liked that I was a happy person, you know, and I didn't, I try not to judge people. I didn't have any, don't have an ego, try not to keep that in check. Having two young daughters will do that to you, which is really good. you know, and I hope the fans trusted Miles' intuition, you know, and a lot of them, there's a lot of naysayers out there that not just for April Wine, they'll say with it for any band that they won't accept an original member. And, there's some merit to that. I understand. I understand we idolize these people. We grow up listening to this music. They become our idols. They become so important to us. I had Ace Frehley posters all over my wall, but we grow old and we can't keep doing what we're doing. And Miles, rock and roll is a vicious game. It was vicious for Miles. He led quite the lifestyle. He was a diabetic and he was hard on his health, like a lot of, rockers of that era were, and he couldn't do it anymore, but he knew he had good songs and he wanted those songs to live on. So I just hope I'm doing the best I can for the fans who come listen to these songs. That's my job. Honor Miles, and honor the other members of April Wine is too, because we talk about Miles a lot, but April Wine, I mean, the songs were the stars, right? But those musicians were killer. Everybody goes, oh, April Wine was my first show I ever saw at the Forum in '72 or whatever. Everybody was blown away by April Wine's show. Everybody that talks to me and that tells me that April Wine was one of the first bands they saw, they remember it like it was yesterday. It's like seeing Zeppelin, right? Because it was grandiose. It was amazing. And so we need to remember that, they were a powerhouse.
We have a fan question from Jennifer Tate, who appreciates what you've brought to the band. She says, Marc, I want to thank you because by stepping in as April Wine's frontman, you've let someone like me, who didn't grow up in the band's original era, finally experience their music the way it was meant to be heard, live. How does it feel to know that your passion for music is giving a whole new generation a chance to be a part of April Wine's story? Also, since joining the band, what has been the most rewarding part of carrying that legacy forward? So how does it feel to be bringing this to a whole new generation, and what's been the most rewarding part?
It feels absolutely fantastic. We're seeing younger and younger people at our shows. We played with Def Leppard in Quebec City, and there was like a bunch of kids in the front rows, and they're like singing the songs. That's good parenting right there. They're listening to their parents' records, and I think it's fantastic. It feels great to be able to do that. I'm a musician. I serve songs, right? That's what I do. And it feels great to be able to do that. And what was the second part of her question again?
What is the most rewarding part?
Okay. Most rewarding part, I've said this before, but I'll say it again. We're playing, we start just between you and me. I start singing it. There's a couple in the front row. Gentleman turns to his girlfriend or wife or whatever, and he's singing to her, just between you and me. He sings, he's, um, singing, and then he turns to me and he's singing to me the lyrics, right? I'm watching this and I'm looking at her while he's singing to me, and she's falling in love with him all over again. That's that's so rewarding to be able to be part of that couple right there. What was that song in their lifetime? Did they get married to that song? Did they have their first kiss to that song? It's so rewarding to see that, the power of music and what it does to people's lives. People want to escape now. We live in a really tough world. you know the world kind of sucks right now. you know Please keep coming to listen to live musicians, and keep coming to hear these bands. You'll feel good. You'll have a good evening and a good time. you know that's what's most rewarding, seeing people react to these songs. We had a gentleman say, could you stretch out just between you and me a little longer? I want to propose to my girlfriend. This is on the BTO tour. And we go, okay, we'll double the solo. We'll double the guitar solo. So when you hear the guitar solo, that's your cue. Get down on one knee, right? And we had the lighting guy. We knew where they were sitting. Guitar solo comes up. Solo spotlight on the guy. The guy's on one knee, proposing. The crowd's going, what's going on? And putting him up on the screen, and everybody's seeing that he's proposing to his girlfriend. And I'm playing guitar and watching this live. So cool. Yeah, it's a wonderful job.
We have three fans that have the same question. So I'm going to blast through all three because one person asked it very creatively, which I found entertaining. So Joe Massey asks, is the band going to write and record new music? Then Alistair Matheson very uniquely says, I'm thirsty for new wine. Is there any fermenting in the studio? And then Philip Johnson asks, is April Wine going to produce and release any new music? They're my favorite all-time band. I've seen them live during the Nature of the Beast and Power Play tours in the early 80s, and recently in Regina with the Headpins and BTO. So all three are just asking, is there any plans for new music?
There's a new song that's been recorded, and a live album from Miles's last performance that was recorded. So the plan originally was to put out this live album with this new song on it. And I don't know where we're at with that right now. That's April Wine Entertainment Inc. that takes care of that. But there is material out there. I know that, Miles was a writer, right? Writers write all the time. So there are a bunch of audio snippets in his iPhone somewhere that could potentially be turned into songs. That's something that we'll have to look into. Because I think that it would be great if we could, take one of Miles's ideas and turn it into a song. That would be really cool. We just have to take the time to do that. And we've been super busy playing. So, and also we don't want to put anything out there until everybody is settled. I mean, everybody is in agreement that the product should go out. So we're kind of in limbo right now as far as new material goes. But yeah, it would be really fun to do. Absolutely.
We have a question from Ed Landriot. His question is, what is the best and worst parts of fronting one of the most iconic Canadian rock bands ever? So you've talked about the best parts a lot, but best and worst parts. It's the fart tube is the worst, isn't it?
Bunch of guys together. It's no big deal. It's like a baseball team or a hockey team. The worst part, I think, is people criticizing the sound of the band, or criticizing the fact that they even say that Brian Greenway is not an original member and he's been there for 47 years. I mean, how do you qualify? Miles, for all of the internet naysayers, Miles Goodwin wasn't an original member of April Wine. You know, I mean, they started in '69, and Miles came in, and so he was not even an original. It was the Henman brothers, who started the band, and they knew Miles, but he wasn't in the band right away, and so that's kind of tiring to hear. I don't I don't let it get to me anymore with those negative comments, because there are a lot more positive comments from people who actually come see the show. So that would be the internet guys that's just complain because they can behind an anonymous keyboard, you know. Um, the rest is all good, besides the sore back because I can't stand up in a tour bus and not knowing where to have a cup of coffee in Germany. Besides that,
You need like a sunroof so you can just kind of have your head out the top, right?
like Fred Flintstone, yeah,
Yeah.
boink.
So you guys just wrapped up a European tour with Uriah Heep. Man, the shows looked incredible. I was following on social media, the pictures, the videos. It looked like big crowds, enthusiastic crowds. Everything looked and sounded great. What was the tour like and what was the reception? It looked like it couldn't have gone any better.
Well, we were opening up for Uriah Heep, so the crowd that was there was for Uriah Heep and Heavy Petting, which were a Scottish band. They were before us. There were some people there for April Wine, but let's be honest here. April Wine hadn't been in Europe for 43 years or whatever since the 80s, right? So we had some people who were like, "We saw you in '83. Where the hell have you been?" Miles didn't want to travel. Miles didn't want to do that kind of stuff, so they didn't. So they lost a big part of that market, right? Um, the crowds were there, and we had to win them over. They were like, April Wine, why does that name ring a bell? And oh, that song, I know that song. That's them. Oh, and that song is them. So, and we had amazing response. People loved us. It was like, but we were like an opening act that nobody knew almost because we had to win them over.
Were you looking forward to that challenge, knowing this isn't a crowd that's
Absolutely.
all here to see us?
Absolutely. It was great. And the guys in Uriah Heep could not be nicer. The whole tour, the cruise, it was just fantastic. Funny and brilliant musicians, and fun to work with. And yeah, we did I'm really proud of the band. We did a good job, not under not always easy circumstances. We did a good job, and I think we won over a lot of fans in Europe. But yeah, it looked great. We have an amazing photographer in Taylor, and the crowd's reactions were honest. They weren't, photoshopped. So the crowds really enjoyed April Wine, and I think we did a good job of opening up for Uriah Heep. And you know, maybe we'll go back and under our own tour. Who knows? You
Headline,
know?
baby.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think we could do as big a rooms. We could probably do clubs and stuff, but it's people know the band. They remember us now, from this tour.
One way that I know that April Wine is known as an incredible live band is because I have 7 questions now from fans that are all to do with the live show for the band. So I put them all together. And if you're cool with it, we'll just rapid fire through all 7 because I want to give these fans a moment in the spotlight for providing a question. So 7 live questions. Here we go. Dan Collins asks, how does your European tour with April Wine compare to your early experiences with 8 Seconds?
Well, it was similar because we had to win over crowds with 8 seconds as well, because we were an opener for Wang Chung. So very similar, but I felt a lot more comfortable. I know a bit more what I'm doing now compared to 1985.
Taylor Jones asks, what was his favorite moment from their most recent European tour?
Oh my God, every show was amazing. Every show was great. I think the last show was really a kicker. The crowd was really, really into that picture you see the whole crowd, and they were standing up and screaming, and it was just wonderful. They're not like in North American crowds. They'll listen a bit more politely at first, but then when they respond, yeah, well, no, they respond like animals, but they don't scream and shout during the song. They listen. And I hardly saw any iPhones out there, which was wonderful. Europeans listen with their ears, not filming through an iPhone.
Kevin Gilfillan, okay, definitely butchered his name. What are the most challenging April Wine songs to perform live? So you mentioned some guitar riffs are tough. I don't know any other answers for that.
Yeah, some certain guitar riffs, if I don't warm up before, I might get pinched, during the show. So I always have a guitar to warm up before, anyways. Yeah, but right now, I'm comfortable in saying that I've got them down now, where I think I'm making them my own.
What's great is once you just know the songs inside and out, you don't have to think about it. You can then focus on the moment and interactions and enjoying things. And yeah.
I think that's what I've been doing for about 2 years now. The first year was the wheels were spinning, but now that my muscle memory is there, and I practice, I still, if we've got a gig coming up, I'm still doing the show from head to toe, once or twice a week at my place, just to keep the muscle memory fresh.
Kevin Lorne Mitchell asks, pro athletes go through times where they are worn out from travel and stress. They have nights off. Does this go for musicians as well?
Oh man, we love our nights off on tour, where we have a hotel room with a decent shower and a bed that's not moving around. We love it. Yes, absolutely. Because it's Groundhog Day on a tour. I've literally made the typical Spinal Tap, mistakes, where I would say hello Cleveland and we're in Detroit or whatever. It's like, even though it's written on my set list, you travel, you go to a different city, you go to the hotel, you go to the gig, you do sound check, you eat, you do the gig. It's like it's a cycle, and it's those things in Spinal Tap. They hit home because they're real. I've gotten lost from the dressing room to the gig. It's happened.
Just in the curtains, just doesn't
It's
know.
just it's happened. Could have sworn the stage was this way.
So the main reason why bands can't play every single night, if you're on a 2 month tour, it's not 2 months straight of every day playing. It's normally for the vocalists. The vocals need a break at some point. Do you have a standard schedule where it's 3 nights on, one off, or 2 nights on, one off, or 4 nights and one off? Is there something works best for your voice?
This last tour, we actually had a 5-nighter in a row,
Is
and
that
my voice
tough?
held up.
Okay.
Voice held out great. My voice was getting stronger on tour. So it's a muscle, right? And because I was using it more, I felt like I was getting stronger and stronger. You just have to stay healthy. I know my body. If I sing when I'm sick, I'm screwed. I will hurt my voice and I'll be out for like a week or two. So I have to stay healthy, not get sick. I was sick on the BTO tour for one night. And there was that one night, I forget where it was, but I wasn't jumping off drum risers and I wasn't dancing around. I was just like focusing on singing in tune and in time because I was sick. But besides that, I mean, I've been lucky, touch wood. My voice got actually stronger during this tour, but I shut up a lot. You know, if I know there's a 5-nighter, I'm not going to be screaming at a Blue Jays game. I'll be silently cheering.
I just saw Sarah McLaughlin here, and at the show that I saw, right off the bat, when she started, she said, "Okay, guys, I have a terrible cold. I just got shot up with steroids or something. So I'll do my best, but like just, sing loud with me, be supportive, all that stuff." And she was absolutely incredible. If she didn't say anything, you wouldn't have known she was sick. But her singing through that Ottawa show, the next day she canceled Montreal. The day after that, she canceled Quebec City, just to show if you actually sing while you're sick, maybe you can get through it that night, but you are screwed moving forward.
Yep, that's so true. And yep. You don't talk during the day, but if you're sick, man, you're like, it's a fine line, you know? So you see, she kept the Ottawa show not to disappoint anybody, but then she had to blow out 2 other shows because of that. It's tough. It's tough staying healthy.
It's tough out there for the singers. So we have three more questions about the live show. Rich Wyckoff asks, any chance of playing some deep cuts live that Miles would never consider?
Oh, Well, we've got a few surprises coming up. We're going to be doing 50th anniversary album tours.
No way.
So if your history is, if you know your history, you know that there's a couple of albums in, or there's an album specifically in 2027 that's going to be 50 years old. So we're planning on doing it from start to finish. So there's going to be deep tracks that are going to be added to the set because we will be playing. The plan so far, don't quote me, it might change, but it would be to play the album from start to finish for one set, and then for the next set, play the other hits that everybody are used to hearing. So that's in the pipeline. I'm looking forward to that. That means learning new April Wine songs. You know, Very excited about that.
Steve Gilbert asks, how much fun are you having?
Look at this smile. I'm having tons of fun. It's hard work, but it's work that I'm used to doing, and I'm so appreciative, and it's an honor to be able to be in this position. You know, I mean, this band is historical, and it's touched this band. These songs have touched so many people. It's truly an honor to sing them, you know, and to bring my spin on them. To say that I'm a member of April Wine, you know, of all musicians, the amazing musicians that have been in this band, I can add my name to that, and it's a real honor.
So the final live question is from Gerald Hartley. You've answered this one a little bit, but he asks, ask him about how he went about reworking the songs for live performances so that they're closer to the original album versions. I believe he did make an effort to do that.
Yeah, I mean the band, when you're used to playing these songs for as long as April Wine have been playing them, they kind of morphed, and the guys would do them in a certain way. And then I come in at rehearsal and I could just say, well, that's not the right chord. That's not the right riff. And they're going, what do you mean that's not the right chord? I've been
They're
doing
like,
this song.
we're April Wine. This is the
Or
official
who the
riff.
hell are you to tell it? And it was like, but I didn't do it with any kind of attitude. I just kind of go, hey guys, I mean, I've been listening to these tunes, for you know all year or whatever. And then they would go back and listen to them and go, holy cow, you're right. We did, they have morphed into something else over the years, which is cool. It's only natural, I think, for bands to start jamming in a section of a song and taking it somewhere else because we're musicians. That's what we do. So to answer the question, yeah, the guys were very open-minded, and we decided, we're gonna play it like the record. So I came in and said just a few suggestions here and there. Might want to play that chord there because that's like the record, and that riff is kind of more like the record than what you're playing now, which is cool, but it's not like what people are, used to hearing. So, and I think that's Miles. I think Miles is, I think he got maybe a little bored of playing them after all these years. So he took them somewhere else, which is normal. You listen to guys, Steely Dan, don't expect Steely Dan to play their tunes like you hear them on the record anymore. They've morphed into other things. So yeah, to answer the question, yeah, I wanted to make sure that it was like the record and the guys were on board with it. That's the first thing we talked about when we started rehearsals. We're going to play these songs just like the record.
So since getting back from the European tour, you've already started a Canadian tour, and those Canadian shows continue into the first 3 months of 2026. If our listeners right now go and purchase a ticket to one of these upcoming shows, what can they expect from an April Wine concert?
Well, they're going to hear the hits. They're going to hear a band that's firing on all cylinders, that are happy to be there, that are having a good time on stage. And, Brian's like 74 years old, and get out of his way, man. I mean, he's like on stage the other day, he's like pushing me and pushing up against me and move over, you young kid. It's like, it's great. He's got a ton of energy. Roy Nickel on drums is dynamite. Richard on bass is a monster. So we're just, we're firing on all cylinders. We really enjoy playing these songs and seeing the fans' reaction to them. So you're going to get a good time. You're going to bring your dancing shoes,
I checked all the dates and all the cities. There's no Ottawa on there. So I'm just going to put it out there into the ether, planting the seed of possibly manifesting an Ottawa date out of nowhere, out of thin air. It can be later in the year. I'm just saying, just store
Especially in the
that
new
back here somewhere.
especially in your new venue, right? The Hard Rock, that casino, what's it called?
Yeah, Hard Rock Live Casino. So what's great about that venue is it's 1,800 people. So it's a great size. But when you go in, and even though it's big enough to attract world-class touring bands, it feels pretty intimate when you're in there. So I was just there for the band Walk Off the Earth. And it looked great. It sounded great. There's lots of free parking. Like it's awesome, and it's bringing out Avril Lavigne just played there, and all these huge artists are coming out. So maybe you guys want to talk to the Hard Rock. I don't know.
Well, well, it was mentioned like months ago when the Quebec and Quebec City and Montreal dates were put together. So probably it's just a question of having the dates available. Maybe the Ottawa venue wasn't available when we were, but I mean, we're definitely going to come play Ottawa. Absolutely. I mean, I'll fill the place with my cousins.
Yeah. Yeah. So many cousins. I have just a random thing before we wrap up is my parents are actually huge April Wine fans, and they saw April Wine in 2012 in Russell. So I grew up in Russell, Ontario, about 30 minutes outside of Ottawa. And what's funny is the Russell Fair every year has huge bands come out and play, and everyone's like, how can you get a big band out to this town that only had 3,000 people at the time? But there's 3,000 population, but 2,000 people would come out from Russell to that show. So they saw April Wine in 2012 and absolutely loved it. They told me
Yeah,
that, and I thought I would throw that in because I thought that was awesome.
that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, definitely love to go out and play small towns, and we're definitely going to do that. We really enjoy playing live, and the band is sounding better than ever. So aprilwine.ca, look us up, come say hi.
So I have one final quote, and this is from the front man, the singer and guitarist from a platinum band that I love. This is from Colin McDonald of the Trues. And even though he doesn't know you
Wow.
personally, when he saw that I was having a member of April Wine on, he wanted to let me know that I love April Wine, and I've always had a lot of respect for that band. I think they have lots of great songs, and I'm a big fan of the song Say Hello. So that's from Colin
Yeah.
McDonald of the Trues.
Wow. Thanks, Colin. Hopefully we'll see each other down the road. Yeah, thank you.
As we wrap up here, you've had a lengthy career in the music industry. How do you keep this fun? And what's your secret to longevity?
I think most musicians look younger than they are because I think that most musicians get rid of their stress while playing music. so so we end up like maybe not being as stressed out human beings, because we get to rock out on a guitar, we get to sing and scream, and we get to let a lot of frustrations out on stage in front of people. So for me, I mean, I think that's the secret. I just really enjoy playing, and I get energized by playing. Well, I don't go to bed after an April Wine gig. I'm ready to do another one. I'm the adrenaline's pumping, and I'm excited. So I think that's a blessing to be able to do what I love to do, and it gives me that wonderful energy.
We've made it to the final three questions. Can you handle three more questions before we wrap up?
Absolutely.
So, when you look back on your life and career, what are you most proud of?
I think that I didn't quit. You know, that music let me down many, many times, but I didn't quit because I just love doing it. And finally, it's like, well, now I get to do it on a higher level, and it's such a thrill. I'll never take it for granted. I'll always be in awe of getting up there and playing, just like a fan.
And now, when you look back on your life and career, what are you most grateful for?
My daughters. Honestly, I mean, music is not brain surgery. We're not saving lives. It's an entertainment business, and there's a million guys out there, who could sing and play guitar, and I'm lucky and blessed to be able to do it at the level that I'm doing it. Just know that I'm not taking it for granted, and that it's truly an honor for me to do it. And thank you for coming out and seeing us live.
If you could sit down next to your 10-year-old self and you could whisper words of advice. So if you took all the lessons you've learned from 10 years old to where you are today, and you took the mentorship and the lessons and the experiences, the highs and lows, the successes and failures, and you whispered advice in cute little Mark's ear sitting there to guide him through this human experience, what do you say to him?
Hmm. I actually had to do that once in a therapy. It's a wonderful exercise to do. I would just say, you know what? Believe in yourself. Follow your heart, follow your instinct, and listen to your body, not your brain. And if it feels good, do it. If it doesn't feel good, don't do it. And work hard.